Well, that's all for this weekend of working on the 1968 Camaro project. The last project I got finished for the weekend was getting the TCI deep fin aluminum transmission pan on the Turbo 350. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to put on my braided stainless AN lines. Just learned something today that I didn't know, and that's the fittings for my Power Glide, which are 1/8 inch pipe thread that thread into the case, and male -6 on the other end, is different in a Turbo 350. Apparently in a Turbo 350 they are 1/4 inch pipe thread that turn into the case. So I have to get some of those fittings, and then I can put my braided line on the transmission, and then that'll be ready to go in. The fittings have to go in the transmission, and the lines on the fittings before the transmission can go in the car, because there just is not any room up there. I mean, if you absolutely had to, you could do it, but putting the lines on first is much easier. But I feel pretty good about what I got accomplished. The motor's in, the fuel system's all mocked up, the cooling system is all mocked up. The only thing I didn't get done that I wanted to get done was get my electric vacuum pump mounted and all lined out with the vacuum hose, and I never got my new low car throttle cable on. But other than that, it was a pretty productive weekend. And now I got everything cleaned up. Well as it can be cleaned up. This place is never totally clean. But the car's all put away in its little hiding spot. It's funny that it has its own little room, but and so I guess in a month or so, we'll haul it back out. I mean, it is getting much closer. There's only a few items left to do to check off the list, but unfortunately they're the most pricey items. I have the at the top of the list, the motor has to be rebuilt. That's going to be pretty costly because, as I stated before, it is now 13-1 to get it to run on pump gas. I'm shooting for 10.5 to 1, which means it's going to have to. I'm going to have to buy some forged flat top pistons, and I'm not sure if I'm going to reuse my head gaskets or not. They say you can reuse the multi-layer gaskets, but I'm not sure if I'm going to attempt it or not. They say if you leave them flat and it's the same block and same cylinder head on the same side, there's no issues. But for the $250 or $300 for new gaskets, a Monday side, I guess I'll cross that bridge when it comes. But you're looking at pistons here. For a good forged piston, you're going to be looking at $1,000. The crank has to be magged for cracks and straightness. It has to be polished. My rods have to be checked. I definitely need new roller lifters. There's been too many problems around here lately with roller lifters coming apart, and boy, do they make a lot of mess inside an engine. And a good set of roller lifters here, you're looking at the better part of $900. We don't use that comp cams junk here. Comp cams make good camshafts and stuff, but boy, not much luck with their solid roller lifters. Crower makes a real nice set of lifters, and so we got to get lifters. It definitely gonna need. Well, it may not need valve springs. I'll check them on the head before the motor comes apart. We have a tool to do that on the motor. So we'll check them, and if there any question at all, I'll have to put valve springs in it. So, and then you got your gaskets, and where you're putting pistons in, it has to be balanced. So even just to freshen up this motor, you're going to be looking at $3,500 minimum. So, and then the next big ticket item is the car has to be rewired, and then after that, and that should be it to get it up and running. Well, sorry, I have to get a torque converter. I have to figure out what I'm going to do there. If I'm going to go with a on-the-shelf converter, or if I'm going to go through ATI or some other company and get one built for the car. Again, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then it'll be up and running and moving. Then for the street, to be street legal, I'll have to put an exhaust on it. So there's some money there. And just the Flowmaster mufflers alone are pretty expensive. And I'll be going with the Super 40s or the 44s. They both sound pretty similar. But anyway, so when I dig the old girl out in a couple months and do some more work, and that will all be dictated on the funds and time I have, and then we'll go from there. Oh, and for the people that have asked about the pictures on the wall, all these pictures on this wall here are of vehicles me and my family have owned, or do own, or pictures of our friends' cars. We've had a few over the years, and our friends have had a few over the years, and we just keep track of them here on the wall. You go to the dollar store and buy a bunch of frames and just print them off, and it always seems to be a good conversation piece when customers show up here to get tires changed or other things done. There's race cars, street cars, hot rods, customs. But anyway, hope you all have a good New Year's and be safe and don't be drinking and driving. Okay, talk to you all later. See ya.